Welcome everyone to the post-match press conference, FC Cincinnati versus Tigres, Leg 1. We've got Cincinnati head coach Pat Noonan. If you have questions on the Zoom, please raise your hand as well as in the room. Coach, just start with your thoughts on the result tonight.
Really pleased with the response from the group against a very good Tigres team. And the scoreline obviously is better than we've experienced previously, and we know how challenging it's going to be in the second leg, of course. But a lot still to go in this home and away, and I'm pleased with the starting point.
We'll start with Carter, and then we'll go to Laurel.
Pat, congratulations on the victory.
Thank you.
You said in the pre-match press conference you guys needed that better scoreline almost regardless of what the performance looked like, but you got the better scoreline. So I guess what stood out about the performance to get you guys there tonight?
I think our transition play in the attack was threatening. There was a lot of moments I think we missed out on early on, but created some good advantages there. And I think that stemmed from some good defensive organization and pressure. I think that Kevin and Tom early on, and then just the way Obi and Pavel were working behind them with Sammy centrally, but more Obi and Pavel in the wide areas did a really good job. Second balls was key with how direct the game was. I thought we were too direct early on and could have been composed in some moments where we dealt with their direct play well, but just maybe didn't recognize that we had a little bit more time. Having said that, when we had to play direct, I think we competed in a good way. And when the game wasn't pretty, what we said was, can we win individual duels and know how to compete against a very strong team? And I thought we did that well.
You mentioned the defense standing out. A clean sheet in this tournament is obviously so valuable heading the second leg, but kind of felt like everyone on that back line stood out. But Gilberto Flores was among them. I thought looked particularly strong. Yeah. What stood out about their performance tonight to help kind of get you to this point, and how can you kind of build on that going into a second leg?
Yeah, everybody will have different takes on what they see and what's the good and the bad. Miles, he's still the anchor there. What he does to read the game, make plays, there's nobody doing it at that level. And so he helps to make the guys next to him look strong. And I thought in the first half, there was a couple moments, especially late in the half with Teenage and Gilberto, where the play gets behind us and, we rely on Roman to make a big save. And, there was one that they missed on the near post, but those are big plays and big moments that a young kid like Gilberto has got to improve with, and we're going to continue pushing him because he's got a ceiling that we want to see, and I know he does. I talk about him all the time, and I'm going to be hard on him because he can take it, and we got to get his game at another level, but it's improving. And so that's why he's on the field, is because we've seen more consistency in his play. And I think on the ball is making better decisions. So yeah, they kept a clean sheet. We relied on Roman in a really big moment. There was a lot of blocks in the second half that I was pleased with from backline midfielders. Good recognition in those moments of, how to keep play from getting to Roman. But the clean sheet's important, and the back line, I think, showed improvements in a few areas tonight that maybe we didn't see in the previous two.
We'll go to Laurel and then Nikenta.
How important was it getting goals early in both halves, particularly Tom's? Do you feel like that maybe helped you guys play a little more freely in that second half?
The early goal was important, I think, just for the psyche of a team, a group that hadn't scored in 2 games, and that hasn't happened to us often. So you go into a game against a very strong team that both sides of the ball, they can score, they can keep clean sheets. We've seen that. So to score early was important. And, Guzman in goal, his distribution is as good as any. And so we were able to capitalize on that, but he's excellent. And so you don't expect that. And Kevin did a good job to finish that play off. Ender recognizing the right pass. Those are the little details of whether we created it or we turned the ball over that we hadn't been capitalizing on previously. And then would I say it helped us to play freely? Not really, because I didn't feel like we were playing freely enough after that. Sometimes you can get tense and you can drop off a little bit. I still think we defended it in a good way, but I think we could have been a little bit better with the ball. That's okay. And then Tom does the transition moment. The goal that Tom scores is a really good goal, really good finish. And then at the end there with Kevin, great ball from Dotto. And those are some moments where we talk about how do we move when we win the ball in transition? How do we move away? How do we move to goal? That was better tonight.
And then just with how physical the game was tonight, did you have to how hard did you have to consider that when you decided to put Evander coming in off, still working back from that injury?
It's not hard to put Evander on. I think it was where he was in going into the game and knowing that if we felt 45 was, the number we were looking at, having him on the field at the end of the game was something we felt would be beneficial. And so the decision not to at halftime was just the way the group looked. And I think, Tom and Kevin were doing a really good job with how we were getting pressure to the ball, but also because we maybe lacked a little bit of composure at times and we were playing direct, they were doing a really good job of helping us in those moments. So we waited a little bit, but that was the reasoning for, kind of how we were planning on progressing Evander and then how it actually played out. But I think there was another question there, but I don't know. What was it?
I think you got it.
I get it. All right.
We'll go to Kenta and then to Tito.
It was Roman's 150th match for this club, the fourth player to reach that milestone. He's kind of been there since day one as a super draft pick ahead of the 2022 season when you started out with this club as well. What has his development been like under your eyes, and how important is he as a piece for your roster right now?
I think you still see the shot stopping is at a very, very high level. The play he makes right before half is the most important play that he has to make. And he did it. And there was moments in the first half, I think he could have controlled the ball. I think we were releasing it too early with, the pressure that was arriving. Again, it always looks easier where I'm standing than what he's seeing with Aguirre, who presses very well, and some of the others. So, maybe it's trying to eliminate risk, but we're trying to get these guys comfortable in ways where, the first thought isn't always direct. It's, can we find a solution? And if we can't, then don't take risks. And I think those are some of the areas in the first half that stood out that I would like to see back to see if we can improve. But in the end, shot stopping and keeping goals from going in the net is the most important thing. And he does that very well. So that's been consistent all along. His desire to get better has been there all along. It's how do we help him get there? So it's been he's been a steady influence in our group.
We'll go to Tito and then we'll go to Cam.
Hi, Coach. This is Gol Cincinnati, Spanish media. El domingo creo que todos terminaron decepcionados por el juego o la derrota ante Toronto. Yo he escuchado aficionados y medios. ¿Cómo hay que ir a jugar en México? Hay que ir a defender este resultado, hay que ir a hacer goles. Y si con este plantel tenemos para llegar más lejos en esta temporada.
Coming out of Sunday, which was a bit of a shocking result for media and for fans, to respond like this, now how do you feel like you need to play going down to Mexico for leg 2? Do you need to go for goals? Do you need to defend? How do you approach the second leg?
Yeah, look, when we expect to win, that's a good thing. We expect to win against whoever we play at home. So people call it shocking. Sometimes that lacks respect for the opponent, and I think you see in this league, if a team has a bad day, anybody's beating you. That's clear, and we don't want that to be the case with us. But that was the case on the weekend with Toronto. I think the response was positive because we just beat a very good team. And we know that that very good team is going to be motivated and ready to turn things around with the second leg. So we can't think about the second leg in this moment because we have a game on the weekend, but the goal is to advance and we need to defend in a good way. And now we know if we can find an away goal, what that means for the goals that they have to score. But I would like to see a similar performance with how we compete, with how we win duels, with how we control the play in different ways with game management, because it's never easy going and playing there. We saw that last year, and there's going to be a lot of similarities, and how we manage that will be important.
We'll go last one here to camera.
So kind of a two-part question here. Firstly, bit of a different look in the midfield tonight. Can you just go through kind of what went into that thought process, both personnel and shape? And then also, we did see at times Ender and Brian Ramirez flipped. What went into that?
The Ender and Brian flipped. I'll answer first. That wasn't by design. That was the way some of the plays unfolded that had them on opposite sides. With the structure of the midfield, it was things that we've looked at in preseason, different ways to get more numbers centrally, and still, it all comes down to how do we get our best group on the field. How do we look a little different at times, not just to look different, but with the pieces we have to to score goals, to be able to defend against the ball in a strong way. And I thought you saw that tonight. So how we position those guys with Sammy, it was some of the ways he's helped us to progress the ball and connect with the back line and receive to advance. I think he does that in a really good way. And then with Obi and Pavel, it's the box to box, the ground cover, positioning of the wing backs and how they move from deep spaces forward. Those are some of the ideas there, and it's also the work rate and the honest play that you get out of them. So they both did a good job, and I think the midfield throughout preseason, through the beginning of regular season play and Champions Cup play, has been the strongest part of our team.
Pat, thank you very much.
Thank you.